Alright, so I had this idea to see I wanna know like the primes of all of the people that are in their thirties and see like how would y'all rank them. But let's just get straight into it. Starting off, Paul George. Paul George is really hard to analyze because he technically had three stints. Like everybody on this list basically had different stints that I'm gonna go by. With Paul George, I would say his prime was from his 2016-17 season when he returned to the 2022-23 season. I feel like these those seasons throughout were the best versions of Paul George. Last year's Paul George wasn't really the version of Paul George that I'm really used to seeing or growing up on. And obviously, his Oklahoma season was his best season by far because he was an MVP candidate and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. But yeah, the reason why I said it's difficult because I really liked the seasons when he was wearing number 24, and I feel like those years are underrated. And really, he was really younger those days, though. I feel like he fundamentally got better. His body got stronger. His IQ got smarter, and yeah. But I don't. Who would y'all take? Like Clippers Paul George or number 24 Paul George when he was on the Pacers? In my opinion, I'd probably take 24 because I love 24 Paul George. Yeah. Alright, the next player we're going to do is Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook's my favorite player of all time. So this is really my opinion at the end of the day. Excuse me. I would say his prime started the 2014-15 season to his Washington Wizards season 2020-2021. Throughout Westbrook's career, he was labeled an inefficient shooter or inefficient scorer or a turnover machine, but he was still getting the job done. Like we see Westbrook, he's often flamed and scapegoated for basically no reason now at this point. But in 2014-15 season, he had to carry the Thunder on his back when KD went out for injury, and there was nothing that he could do that season. So that's when I feel like he really matured, because the years before, he was an all-star, I believe, twice or once. But I feel like this is when he really grew to be the Westbrook that we know and all the Westbrook fans love. And yeah, I don't know. It's just something about him after his meniscus. He was still athletic, but I feel like before, call me crazy, but I feel like he was more athletic before the meniscus injury. But people tell me he looks the same, but I just don't see it. Then his last season, the MVP season, obviously his best season. I rated that the highest on my MVP list. Watch that video if you haven't seen it. And there's nothing too much to say. He carried a terrible team to the playoffs, even though they lost to Harden in the playoffs. There was nothing he could really do. They were going to lose to the Warriors either way with that team. And lastly, his Wizards season. He was stinking it up the first half of the season. At the end of the season, he turned it up. I remember he averaged, I'm pretty sure for a player of the week, he averaged 19, 20, and 20 one week. And that was the last time I really seen Westbrook be Westbrook. And I'm just grateful that I got to experience that Westbrook before. Obviously, he slowed down. Alright, the next player we're going to do is Stephen Curry's prime. And this is hard to analyze because he's basically putting up the same numbers he did in his prime, but I guess I'm going off something different. For me, I would say his prime is all the way from 2013-14 season to the not to say, but he's gotten better though. But I would say it's from the 2013-14 season to the 2018-19 season. The reasons why those is obviously when he got his MVP and he got his rings, but I feel like this is when he was labeled the babyface assassin that whole stint. And then after that stint, he got better in 2021 when he was the MVP finalist, even though the Warriors were on a shitty team. So I can't really say that Curry has left his prime, but I feel like those were his prime years, if that makes sense. I don't know which I think like where you think Curry's prime is, or is it still going? Because he's in his 35th year. I feel like his prime ended when he was like 32, 33. But that's just my opinion at the end of the day. The next player I wanted to do was Kawhi Leonard, and his prime really started late for me. I feel like he entered his prime the 2015-16 season when he became a first-time All-Star, and his prime went all the way up to the 2022-2023. No. The 2020-2021 season. I feel like that was his prime, because that was a Kawhi that was one of a top 5 player in basketball. Now I feel like people don't rank him in the top 5, or people don't even rank him in the top 10 anymore. I don't know where I would put Kawhi Leonard now in today's NBA, but Kawhi Leonard has become an injury machine, people say, but Kawhi Leonard, when he is on the court and he's healthy, is one of the best players in basketball, and we've often seen it. He won a ring in Toronto. That was when he was in his prime. He won the Finals MVP against LeBron, but he really wasn't in his prime, if that makes sense. He was still young. He averaged 16 that season. 2015-16 season is when he broke out. And I say his 2020-2021 season was his prime, because the year before he averaged 27, and there's no debate. They should have won. They choked 3-1. You can't really do anything about that. But the next season he followed up with 23 and a half, and he didn't really play. He only played 50 games back-to-back seasons, so that's why I say it was really cut short. But the next season, last year, he had a better season than the year before, but I feel like with age, I feel like you get smarter and you learn the game even more. So that's why I don't rate it that as high as the past seasons I just named. The next player I'm going to do is Kyrie, and I feel like Kyrie Irving's prime started the 2016-17 season all the way to the I would say the 2022-2023 season. I would say that, yeah. But Kyrie in 2016-17, that was the year after he got his ring, and he took more of an offensive role. Like LeBron took more of a backseat to him. When you rewatch the games from those years, LeBron even said that Kyrie was the leader on this team. Obviously, LeBron was lying, but Kyrie really took up the mantle. He showed why he could lead it. He could lead a team. That didn't really work out for him, because obviously he was traded to Boston, and I feel like Boston was his best years. Boston was really prime Kyrie. Boston got to see a show every time Kyrie stepped on the floor. Obviously, he choked in the playoffs against the Bucks, but those regular season numbers, I feel like those were the best Kyrie. That was the best we've seen Kyrie. Then Brooklyn, obviously, he averaged 27 in each season, but with Kevin Durant. But the games were really limited in Brooklyn. There was not really a strong enough sample size like it was in Boston. So I feel like Kyrie's prime was really cut short too. Everybody on this list's prime was cut short, which is surprising. But in Dallas, he's still putting up 24 plus a game. So it's still Kyrie Irving at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if he's in his prime or not. He's still going to find a way to get a bucket. But yeah, I guess I'll make a part 2 to this video because there's more players.